Welcome back guys to another Odyssey video. I will no longer show you any 2 billion damage builds because I have realized that they are so hard to make for many of you. Instead I will show you the best full health build with 100% health, 100% ignore half damage and over 700% critical damage. This will be by far the ultimate best full health build that has ever been created. Of course it is still able to one-shot every single boss in the game, including Medusa with a single overpower strike, but I didn't want to focus on damage alone with this build. Instead I wanted to focus on having the most useful abilities and engravings you can possibly put in any kind of build in Assassin's Creed Odyssey. That also includes having Bull Rush as one of your main abilities, including assassin damage to nearby, and we will also use 100% damage reduction to mitigate the effect of the Corfu engraving. As you know, with 100% resistance you will take no melee damage at all, with 0% you will take the normal damage, and at minus 100% resistance you would take the double amount of damage when using the Corfu engraving. But when using 100% ignore half damage, you will literally get another 100% resistance because you will only take the normal amount of damage again when playing with this build. And that makes all the full health builds so compelling because you are just taking the normal damage as it was intended. That will also allow you to use parry without having to fear to die. But the best of it is that we will also use the assassin damage to nearby, which is absolutely insane, especially when you use it together with rush assassination. But you can not only deal assassin damage to nearby when you use assassinations, it will also magically work when you use Hero Strike. So especially when you perform Hero Strike in a large group of enemies, you will continuously kill off everyone that moves and comes close to that circle, which is insanely crazy, and that ability even works in conquest battles. The assassin damage to nearby definitely made Hero Strike one of my most favorite abilities of all time. And especially in combination with Bull Rush, you will absolutely own every single conquest battle in a way you have never seen before. This build is no less than the absolute 100% health hybrid build, which you can use for everything. But first, let's check out the damage numbers for this build. With a normal light attack you will get up to 1.8 million damage, with a heavy attack you can get up to 3 million damage, and with a charged heavy attack you can get up to 8 million damage in total. Sparta Kick and Ring of Chaos will also be around 4 million damage, Bull Rush will be around 7 million damage, and an Overpower Animation Cancel will be around 30 million damage. Devastating Shot will be around 9.5 million, and the Predator Shot will top out at around 12 million damage. You can also simply kill every single mercenary in the game with just using a normal assassination, or you can also use the crazy RS Madness ability, which can deal over 24 million damage when you attack a Polemarch. All the normal RS Madness attacks will be around 2 million damage, and you can further increase this by changing just a few perks in your build. But now let's finally check out the build, guys. With this build we will have up to 243,000 warrior damage and 635,000 assassin damage. That amount of assassin damage combined with the amount of critical damage is more than enough to kill every single mercenary just with a normal assassination without having to use any single assassin damage engraving in your build. Of course we will also use the Bighorn Bow. The Bighorn Bow is a glitched item that adds all its 6495 DPS to your left melee weapon, which will almost double your entire warrior damage, and it will also make your arrows use your warrior damage too, which means you will use the same 243,000 warrior damage when shooting arrows. All this makes the Bighorn Bow by far the most powerful item in the game, so definitely make sure to use your 203 credits to get it from the store, otherwise you will have to pay for it. In our left melee weapon we will use Hater's Harper, which is the perfect warrior sword with warrior damage, critical damage and dangerous swords, and here we will add the +2 charges for Bull Charge ability, which is an absolute crazy ability that simply melts every conquest battle. Of course you can also go for armor penetration instead, or even use the +100% damage and health cap to 25% if you dare to use it. Going for the health cap engraving also gives you the flexibility to use your torch whenever you want to heal yourself, but with 100% health you have to rely on second wind. To get Hater's Harper you have to do the Friend in Need quest in Attica and make sure that you lie to Hater to keep the sword at the end of the quest. If you already did this quest you can of course also use the Milanese sword or any other sword that you get from Blacksmith which has the same engravings, such as the Hoplite sword which I also got from Blacksmith. It has warrior damage, critical damage and dangerous swords, so the same perfect stats, and here we will add the assassin damage to nearby engraving. On the big combo, we will go for convert 50% hunter damage bonus to all damage, which will add up to 160% warrior and assassin damage to our build. If you go for any other conversion engraving, you will end up with either less warrior or less assassin damage, so using the hunter damage conversion is the absolute best way to get the most out of your warrior and assassin damage. Especially if you combine the hunter damage conversion with the Corf engraving, you will literally get up to 100% damage for free for the other two types. In order to unlock the damage conversion and the assassin damage to nearby engraving, you have to go to the Atlantis Forge in episode 3 of the Atlantis DLC and craft any spear or mace to unlock all engravings. You can then use these engravings on any other weapon of your choice. On the helmet, we will go for warrior damage, chance to ignore half damage and damage swords, and then you can add another 20% crit chance at full health. Of course, these engravings can also be in a different order. You only have to get a helmet with 2 of these engravings and simply engrave what is missing. The fastest way to get these perfect epic armor items is of course to use the blacksmith reload. On the arms we will go for warrior damage, critical damage at full health and another 10% crit chance, and similar to the helmet, these engravings can also be in a different order, so it should be easy to find a correct one. The best belt to use for this build is the Belt of the Sphinx, which is a unique item and the only belt in the game that has 20% crit chance at full health. When using the Belt of the Sphinx, you should engrave another 100% critical damage on it. However, if you don't have the belt, you can also go for a normal random epic belt with warrior damage, 100% critical damage, 10% crit chance, and if you have the Nemean Lion set, you can go for the Nemean Lion set bonus that gives you another 5% crit chance and 25% critical damage. That way you will have 95% crit chance and 700% critical damage in total. If you don't have any of these combinations, of course you can also swap your bracers for the stolen Easel bracers, but that will result in a quite significant damage loss. For the torso we will go for the Resort shoulder pads, which is another unique item which you get on Corfu Island. The Resort shoulder pads is the only torso in the game that has ignore half damage on it, which is needed to get this build to 100% ignore half damage. If you're missing the Resort shoulder pads, you can simply start a New Game Plus and get it again on Corfu Island. The best engraving for the Resort shoulder pads of course will be critical damage. And last but not least, on the boots we have warrior damage, 100% critical damage, 20% crit chance, and plus 100% damage but minus 100% resistances from Corfu Island. To get this engraving you have to go to Corfu Island, collect the tablet from the Collidi farm, and then go to the northeast of the map and solve the riddle. In this build variant you will have 558% warrior damage, 440% assassin damage, 120% damage swords, 100% crit chance, and 675% critical damage. If you don't have the Belt of the Sphinx and you use the other epic armor item like I proposed, you will have up to 95% crit chance and up to 700% critical damage instead, which is also quite okay. For the abilities and masteries, you will need around 200 ability points to make this build. We will start with 6th Sense, which will double all your hunter damage, then go for 2 points on Arrow Master, then you can either use Multi-Shot, Devastating Shot or Predator Shot. While Predator Shot is the strongest, Devastating Shot is much easier to use. Archery Master is really important to refill your first adrenaline segment, then you can invest 1 point to go for a bridge to get the Ghost Arrows of Artemis. While the Charged Heavy Take is a really cool ability that costs you absolutely no adrenaline, I also started to like Sparta Kick and especially the enhanced version of the Bull Rush ability in recent days very much. Of course, go for the usual Weapons Master, Gear Master for the damage and crit chance increases. If you also want, you can go for flaming attacks and use the additional 40% damage from Fire Mastery. Of course, don't forget Overpower Attack and the crazy RS Madness ability. Fury of the Bloodline will also be great to refill your adrenaline. If you don't own the Legacy add-on, you can also use Hero Strike instead. And of course, don't forget Ring of Chaos and Second Wind for your healing. In the Assassin tree, you should go for Shadow Assassin, which increases your assassin damage and also your critical damage. Of course, go for Rush Assassination, and of course Hero Strike, which will also deal all the assassin damage to all nearby enemies. Stealth Master will increase your overall damage overnight, and you can also go for Shadow of Nyx if you want to. For the basic mastery points, which will need no more than 200 points in total, you should place 12 points on crit chance, 12 points on crit damage, another 12 points on warrior damage, and then go for 8 on health, 8 on armor, 12 on melee, 8 on fire, and 8 on armor penetration. If you don't have enough points, then you can skip all the ones where I only put 8 on. Definitely go for 15 points on damage swords, 12 points on crit chance at full health, 12 points on crit damage while full health, and then most important, go for 20 points on the chance to ignore half damage, because only when this ability hits 100%, it always gives you half the amount of damage. If you have well over 400 points, you should max out hunter damage, crit chance, crit damage, headshot, even the other hunter abilities. Go for a couple of points on range resistance and even for the adrenaline or headshot kill. In the warrior tab, max out warrior damage, health, armor, melee resistance, fire damage and armor penetration. And if you still have more points, you should also go for a couple of points on damage dealt restored as health, because that greatly helps if you get hit. In the assassin tree, you should max out damage whenever time is slowed down, assassin damage, damage as swords, totally go for all the crit stuff, damage while full health, still 20 points on chance to ignore half damage is really important, elemental resistance, a couple of adrenaline points, and damage on leads and bosses. I hope you really enjoyed this. This is definitely my new favorite build. It not only solves the core engraving problem, it also adds permanent fire damage and eliminates any crafting for your arrows. Please don't forget to subscribe, leave me a like, and see you next time.